jump over in Iraq. Plus, you've got all your other areas of operations what I'm not allowed to discuss, where there's always small teams here, there, and everywhere. And when you finish something, you might think you've got a bit of leave, and you come back, and it's just literally on the notice board. No, report to such and such, and you're going over there, or go work with the Delta or SEAL Team 6. We're going to send you across there just to do a bit of this training. Then you're back, and you're just here, there, and everywhere. But it's fantastic.
I want to ask about Bosnia, but before I do, because you brought up the SBS, and that's something, again, the average American has never heard of. I mean, I feel like the average military nerd in the U.S. definitely knows what the SAS is, but that SBS is kind of like their SEAL Team 6. But I gotta ask, if are they equal? Like, if we were gonna get into a gunfight, or I needed to be, I'm a hostage and I need to be rescued, who's more likely to get called, the SAS or the SBS?
Well, the SBS, I've got to tell you the truth, they are more maritime. So if it's anything to do with offshore, I mean, and say an oil rig gets taken on, or a big ship, they will lead it, and we might sort of back them. But generally, at ground operations, it's mainly the SAS who get called. But obviously, the SBS, they get involved as well, and they've been involved a lot more now. So, but we are the senior unit, and I know there's always banter going on, even though we do the same training. But we put it this way, because they work on water and we work in the air and on the ground, and they work on the ground as well. We say the difference in the SAS and SBS. SBS work in water, and the SAS walk on water. And that's what
great.
we do. Yeah. But so basically, anything to do with the air and ground would be the SAS's role, and anything to do with the maritime, the sea, and ships alongside, and the ground would be SBS. But most of the time now, we do a lot of the same thing. But as I said, they concentrate more on the maritime.
In the U.S., there's a real friendly rivalry between Delta and SEAL Team 6, where they like to really let each other know who they think's better. Is it similar between the SA and S, and were they kind of?
Yeah, 100%. It's exactly the same, because two tier 1 units, and obviously this SAS has been going a lot longer, so we're the senior unit, so we like to think we're better, and we are. But no, it's good banter. The brilliant operators, because that's why we do the same initial selection. We do that for 6 months first, so we're all the same. But then they go to the concentrate more on the maritime type of work, but also they still do the ground work as well. Whereas we concentrate on the air side, but we still do some boat side work and some mountain work and some mobility work as well. So yeah, we all do a lot.
I want to get into Bosnia now, just because that is a topic that when I saw it in your timeline, I was very fascinated by, because again, not something that really gets talked about much at all. Could you explain to the audience again, kind of what your role in the crisis, genocide, whatever we're going to call it, that was ongoing in Eastern Europe at that time, in the Balkans and such, and kind of what the SAS, the British, the Americans, what were you guys called in to do?
Yeah, I went straight across as soon as I passed election. Well, I passed 94, then 95. I found myself across. I was across there, but also the unit had been over there many a time, because they were like, even with the best, even now with the best intelligence, with drones and everything else we got, you can't beat somebody on the ground. You still need people on the ground. So they would be on the ground, basically giving the main int to passing information up, but we'd be disguised as a different unit. And especially when we went across as JCOs, Joint Communication Officers. So we had the under the United Nations flag, the blue berets and all that sort of stuff. But really, we were gathering information and stuff like that. And also, you was getting involved, because you were just trying to look after people. Because the genocide, what went on between, obviously the Bosnian Serbs, they're the biggest group, and everybody thinks it's just them. But the Croatians, they were just as bad, and the Muslim side as well. And they were all neighbours, but the atrocities, what went on there, it was like on par, but obviously per capita at certain periods, because we're on par as like the Nazi Holocaust and the Second World War, obviously per capita, what they were doing and the death camps and everything else they had. So we was doing a lot. And basically what we were really after was targeting people, the PIFWICs, we call them. That's person indicted for war crimes. So even though we was over there as a joint communication, they didn't know we were special forces. So we was all over the place and getting involved and also getting up on the front lines, passing live information back or what's going on the ground, because you get information, but sketchy. There's nothing better than having live boots on the ground, live people in there. So that was part of our job, and that went on for a long time. So the persons indicted for war crimes, we went after these guys, and they were terrible. They were the evilness they did to each other, and we got them and sent them to the Hague. So if you think about it, this is what I say. All my career, I spent my career, and it was either PIFWICs, persons indicted for war crimes, terrorists, which are evil, horrible people. That's whether you're from the Northern Ireland terrorist, the loyalist terrorist, or the Republican paramilitaries. They were just evil. They're killing civilians. That to me is that's terrible. Or insurgents. Again, when you're in these other places, they aren't playing by any rules. No Geneva Conventions. So PIFWICs, persons indicted for war crimes, insurgents, and terrorists. To me, they're legitimate targets. They're, obviously we try to take them alive and get the best information. But to me, they're scum. Only people I ever felt sorry for is enemy combatants, and I met them obviously in the first Gulf War and then in the next Gulf War and so on. Because a normal combatant, he's doing his job. He's a soldier in uniform, and a lot of times they don't really know what's going on. They're just listening to the propaganda from their government, and and like I said, they put on the front lines and everything. So obviously they're trying to kill you, so you're gonna have to return the favor, so to speak. But it's on mutual respect when if you get a normal combatant, he's an enemy combatant. But to me, a terrorist, an insurgent, or a person indicted for war crimes, these are a different level. And obviously our job is to make sure we apprehend them and capture them, or if need be, whatever, and then bring them to justice.
I'm so happy you brought that up, because that's actually a question I ask a lot of guys. What's it like fighting regime loyalists, like the standing Iraqi military, compared to then Al Qaeda or ISIS or whatever, the war criminals in Bosnia or wherever they might be. And they all have the exact same answer that you just gave, that they all sympathize with the run of the mill soldier. He doesn't want to get crushed. He has no interest in going toe to toe with a world superpower. But the terrorism thing is borderline satanic. I mean, it's hard to put into words some of the things those people do.
I believe these people, they're just psychopaths and everything. But what happens is, and I've seen this, persons indicted for war crimes, insurgents, terrorists, when you capture them, they're the most, they are the biggest cowards going.